Hey everybody, today I want to share a tag making video. I want to make 3 tags because this was the amount I could cut out of one sheet of paper. And what I wanted to do is use some paintings, watercolor paintings that I've started and never finished and then put into a drawer just because I didn't like them. That was the main reason I didn't like them. I found 2 where I now think I really like them and I want to finish them. That's this one. I don't know why I thought that's not good, that's not nice. When I now see I really love it, and that's why I always recommend coming back to your work the next day, or even a week or 2 weeks later, or a year later, and then think about it again, and that can make a huge difference. So I will put this away and finish it at any time. Maybe I will make a bonus video for my Mixed Media Play members. We're doing a lot of watercolor abstracts the last month, I would say. I also found this, and that's a very empty paper. There's not much going on, and I thought, why not also add color to this and see where it takes me. And then I found this, and that's the paper I'm going to use today. I found a few others, but color-wise, this spoke the most to me, and I still don't like it as a painting, and I would never like to finish it because I don't like this area. It's not very good. I don't like that. The colors are, I think, a little bit too bold for the first layer, and that is, or for the second layer maybe, or the first layer was too light, I don't know. I just don't like that, and I want to use this paper to create or decorate these tags. And what I'm going to do, I'm just tearing out pieces, and I'm also cutting. I will mix both because I like a torn edge and I also like a cut edge. I really like these colors together, so I'm going to just use it like that. Let's cut this. I will use it like that for one tag. That's a bit too big, so I'm just cutting it a bit smaller. And here I also have to cut it like this, and I either could tear it more so this gets thinner, this part, or I can cut it here. I think I'm going to cut it here so I have more of this interesting texture part with these lines. I really like that, so I'm going to cut that here. And that's all I'm doing. I'm just cutting a piece of that background paper. I will lay it aside, and then we will finish that. Let's have a look for the other. I also really would like to bring in that kind of shape, that bowl shape. Let's see. Yeah, I'm going to cut it at the bottom. And what I also like, you can tear the paper either like I did it here with the torn edge downside, or you can tear it like I'm doing it here, so you get that white edge on the upper side, and then it gets visible. So it makes sense to maybe put some kind of color underneath so that remains visible when I'm done with the tag. I think that's quite a small bit. We probably could use a tinier bit towards the top. I will see that later during the process. I think that could be also interesting with that pink stripe. Not sure if I like it here. I think that might be a bit boring, but we could do a bolder background with some of the pink on the background probably, and then use it. I think I will tear it like this. I'm not sure about that. If I should use it or not. It's not bad. Maybe I should use it and keep that for another similar project. And I will keep these at my desk for now, these leftovers, because maybe I need some tiny bits later to finish the tags. What I'm doing now, I will add a little bit of paint that goes with the colors I'm having here to the background of the tags. I cut the tags from the Mastering Mixed Media paper. It's not their mixed media paper. They have one that is called Mixed Media. I think there's also Imagine on the cover. And this is the multi-technique mixed media. And that's a texture paper. And that is smooth on one side and textured on the other. But the texture it has is such an unnatural paper texture. We maybe could just add some paint, some watercolor, and you can see what I mean. Oh, wait a second. You can see what I mean. I do not like that texture. Not sure if you can you see that? Can you see these stripes? I don't like that kind of texture. And that's why I just go for the other side. Oh, that was the right. My desk is dirty with paint and I have some dark marks already on the back. So definitely time to clean my desk. So I'm adding now a little bit of paint. You can use whatever you like. I think I'm going for the gouache paints because I have them next to me, easy to grab, and I like that they have this small opening and that makes them super quick and easy to use. I'm adding a little bit of that color here because that is perfect match for this color, I think. That's quite nice. What I also like about the gouache paints, these are the acrylic gouache from Liquitex. They are they dry super fast. So of course you don't have to work with your fingers like I do it. I just often do that because it's easier and I don't have to clean a brush. They get clogged sometimes. That's a bit annoying. That happens quite a lot to the neons. I don't know why. Even if I close them right away, that would happen. Okay, it still doesn't work. They also get very, very thick, but also only the neons. I'm adding a bit of neon here. That's probably in the wrong space, so let's add a bit more. Maybe I should add a little bit of water to this paint just to avoid it drying. It dries completely out. I will do that later. And there is some yellow on that paper, and I'm adding a bit of this here as well. We don't need much, because we will cover up a huge part of the tag. I'm just adding that like this. Yeah, I think that's quite good. Like it. And the last one, we said we can go a little bit darker here. I will add that yellow, or a little bit bolder. I will apply it quite thick, and I think maybe add a little bit here as well. I will let it maybe dry before I add some kind of pink, because I don't want it to mix. Because when I mix the pinkish violet colors, sorry for the noise, when I mix the pinkish violet colors with the yellow, I will get kind of a reddish color like I got it here, and I don't want to have it, but I think they also might not layer very good. So yeah, I will wait for this one to dry before I add a little bit of pink to it. That's almost dry. It's a little bit wet, so I will let that dry, and then I will be back and we will finish these tags. The tags are dry, and I'm just adding a little bit of pink to this one. I think I'm mixing a little bit from this and this one. I've also recognized that what's going on? That I have some blue tones. Just mixing that here. I just make some marks with my finger. Okay, that's fine. I'm back with voiceover now. The tags are dry, and I'm now going to adhere the watercolor pieces to the tags. But what I'm doing before I adhere them, I'm going to stamp one of the stitching border stamps to each of them. I really like these stamps to give some interest to a project. Of course, you could do some real sewing, but that's just not what I like to do, because I have to pull out my sewing machine, and there is also not a lot of space left on my desk. It's a really big desk, but where I had the most empty part for my sewing machine, there is now all my pottery stuff. I'm not sure if I mentioned it here, but I already told that to my members in last autumn. We built a little pottery studio in our home in the basement, my husband and I, and it's a lovely studio, but it's super cold down there. And also my husband does a lot of work there, so there is not so much space left for my stuff. And I also really like to work in a more cozy area, so I took a lot of the stuff I am using up into my studio. So I have, I would say, half of my, no, not half of the, if you take the studio part where I do art and create, then I would say half, almost half of the studio is pottery stuff. The rest is painting and drawing stuff. And then the other half of the room is separated into an office part and quite a relaxing part where I have my couch, a TV, my bookshelves. Yeah, so there is no room for a sewing machine at the moment. I'm using the VersaFine clear ink to stamp the images because that's the best ink to get a good stamp impression. And as I'm working on watercolor paper, I don't have to worry if the ink is drying. I'm also stamping some background imagery to the tags. So there is something more going on than just the colors, and that makes it more interesting. I'm using some craft glue to adhere the papers. I usually like to use my glue stick, but with this heavy and thick paper, it's easier to use the liquid glue, and then I put something on top until everything holds and stays in place. I want to mention again the Mastering Mixed Media Expo event. It's starting on May the 1st, and it's a free online event with amazing artists sharing lessons all around mixed media. And you can join that for free. Check out the link in my description. You can watch each lesson. You will get notified when the lessons are starting. And yeah, definitely something you don't want to miss. Also, in the video description, there is a link to our blog where you can have a look at the close-up images of these finished tags. And you will also find the supplies I've been using listed in the description. I'm placing the watercolor pieces a little bit offset, so I'm not lining them up with the tag. I really like when it stands over a little bit. I think that makes it even more interesting, and it brings in more depth because it makes that second layer a little bit more visible. You can see I'm placing just the paint bottles onto the paper so it stays flat and the glue can adhere. Next, I'm making some splatters to the tags because I really like splatters, and I think for this kind of style they fit perfectly. I'm picking some white acrylic ink, and I'm also going to use some turquoise acrylic ink because I have that blue color on the watercolor paper, and I also wanted it to spread that out a little bit on the whole tags. I'm just searching for the right turquoisey color. I think that is the best match. I let the splatters dry, and here I'm back with my focal images. I had these already stamped previously for another project. I usually stamp more than I need, so I could use some for other projects, and these are images from our Collage Leaves 3 stamp set. It's linked in the video description. I just stamped it in black to white paper, and I've used the Canson mixed media paper to stamp these. It's a little bit thinner than the mixed media paper, and it's also smooth, so perfect for stamping. I've cut them out, and here I'm adhering them with the craft glue. I've also put together some words that I wanted to use, and these are also from the same stamp set, and I'm going to adhere those to the tag as well, just one for each. And this is embossed in white to black cardstock. I really like that contrast. And yeah, I would say that's everything I'm doing to these tags. I think it's a really good way of using some stuff that you would probably throw away at any time. So never throw away your watercolor fail paintings. Try to use them maybe in this crafty way. You could make a scrapbooking mini album with this technique. Just maybe these tags without the focal point, add a photo, maybe some decoration around that photo, and then you can bind it with a ring binding, for example, and you have a little scrapbooking mini album. Of course, you could also use these tags just as gift tags or to mark your book. I almost forgot about the leftovers I had kept. And now I'm just thinking about adding a little bit of them to the tags, and here I decided to cut out some tiny circles and adhere those to the tags. I think that was a really nice idea to finish them. It brings in more interest and just something that you can just see on the second side, not on the first side, and that's yeah, it just adds interest. I'm going to cut a few little circles and then I'm going to adhere them with my liquid glue. I would call the tags done now. I will leave you with a photo of the tags. As I said, you can jump over to the blog and have a closer look at the close-ups. I hope you enjoyed that video today, and I hope we will see us next time. Bye!